Welcome back to part 2 of Beauty on the Beast. We've finished the face and now it's time to add a little color to the mane. I'm using the 305 Spruce Blue mainly because it's small, and I'm just kind of putting in a few of the hairs of the mane just to kind of get the shape of it. We'll be adding more as we go on because we have to put it in our background, but it's just kind of, I like to see my horse beginning to come together by adding these strokes. And now I'm going to use the Spruce Blue 305 NuPastel on the other side as well to put a few mane hairs in. I'm continuing to add a few more. I want to keep it wavy. Frisians have very wavy hair. This one's gotten wet a little bit, which changes the texture some. You can make your hair drier and more intense wave and even add more strands of mane. This is your project, so whatever you want to do, feel free to do it. And this is just the preliminaries to kind of get the shape of what's happening with the face and the overall appearance of the horse before I add the background over that, and then I'll come back and add more intense, deeper colors to the mane. I'm going to speed this up a little bit because I think you get the idea. After working on the mane, it's time to add some blue to the body of our horse. So I'm going to use my Rembrandt 508.5 Prussian blue, and I'm using it on the end to crosshatch this deep blue color onto the body of the horse. I'm taking my time going back and forth to make this a very smooth application of color and moving down the entire body of our horse. Now I'm using the same blue to add a little bit of that color into the mane, just in the thicker areas of the hair, just to kind of make it a little more solid. Here I'm using the edge of the 508.5 Prussian Blue Rembrandt to add that little edge on the horse. And sometimes I use the edge to add a few hairs as I see it necessary to do. My hand's a little off camera right now, but I'm just adding color to the mane. And then moving back to the body of the horse. It's best when you see something needs correcting to go ahead and do it when you see it. So I try to do that. I'll just add that color back and forth. It's really a powerful blue right now, but we know that it's going to add to the depth of the overall color of the horse. Now here I'm using my white charcoal pencil to make sure that I can see where that muscle is that goes to the front leg underneath all these layers, because that's going to be important for me to define later on. And I was afraid I was going to lose that line, so I went back and added a little more color there. I'm working on the legs now, making sure that the entire horse is covered with blue. Now that the horse is finished, I'm using the end of a 211 white pastel to put in the areas of foam into the background waves, and I'm just kind of not using a whole lot of pressure. As you can see, my pastel is not sharpened to a point. It's just the edge, and I'm putting in that foam to make sure that it's going to show through when I add the other colors. This is a good way to do that. So I'm kind of using a circular motion, just kind of jiggling it in there. I'm denoting a little spray, a little splash here with the tip of this, the edge of this pastel. Now, we'll go back and add more details later when we finish it, but this will just show through the subsequent layers of pastel and help us get in our markers to show us where these things are going to happen in our painting. Now I'm on the opposite side of our horse on the right, and I'm putting in the foam there as well. Time to add some sky. Now I'm using a Rembrandt 508.8, which is a lighter shade of Prussian blue than what we used on our horse. And I've sanded the edge flat on this half stick, and I'm adding a base coat of sky. Now when it says, like this particular color is Rembrandt 508.8, the 0.8 determines designates how much white has been added to the pastel, which makes it lighter than the other color we used for the horse's body. That's just a, by the way, side note. As far as I know, Rembrandt is the only one that does that, so you can tell by the numbers which ones have had white added to them and which ones have had black added to them and which ones are the true color. Now I'm making this as even as I can, keeping my strokes actually parallel to the horizon line. So I'm working from right to left in a straight way, just trying to make it even. And we're going to add some other colors to that as we move forward. You can see as I go over that foam area there, the white shows right through. And I'm going over the mane as well, and it shows right through. So we're going to go all the way down to the edge of the water with our blue color. Now I'm going to add another color. This is turquoise blue, or 522.8. This has a little bit of green tint to it. It may not look like it, but we're going to use that. And that adds another layer of color to our sky and makes it a little more in-depth and complicated in that it combines more colors and it makes it more interesting. Now over on the right side of the painting, I also used some 570.9 phthalo blue for the lightest blue, and then a touch of 205.3 lemon yellow that gives that green glow that you see right next to the horse's face. Now here I am adding the 570.9 phthalo blue. And that's just evening out that color on that side. And here I'm holding the 205.3 lemon yellow. And I'm going to add some color in between some of these waves. And it's called lemon yellow, but it's really a green color. It works really well to add that color of the sea. I'm going to put a little bit in the sky too. It just makes it all more interesting. We're going to work on the middle area of waves, just behind the horse. I'm going to base coat that area with 727.8 Rembrandt, which is a light blue-gray. So I'm cross-hatching over that on both sides, down to the edge of the beach. That's a good base coat color, and again, you can see that the white shows through. Now on top of that, I'm going to use our 522.8 turquoise blue that we used in the sky. And then I'm going to add some 205.3 lemon yellow. Now I've zoomed in a little bit, and I'm going to use a NuPastel 279 cold medium gray, and I'm using this as a shadow at the base of the wave, so it looks darker. I blend it in with my finger. It blends in nicely with the green, but we're going to put some shadows in with that. Just adding a little more gray to darken that down a little bit, add a little more shadow to that area. I have a little piece of 100.5 Rembrandt, which is white, in my hand. You can't see it very well, but I'm using the flat edge to make circular, go in a circular pattern to make the foam at the top of the wave. And what we've done is with very little color, we have created what looks like ocean without really going into super lot of detail, because we want the horse to be the focal point of our painting. But this is a good way to make a ocean background. So I'm just making little circles, darkening little areas to create that foam. I'm using the end of the NuPastel to add a little more detail. It's smaller, so I can get into some places and add more detail. I'm pressing a little harder with it so that it leaves more white into these areas, but not everywhere, just some places. We want to add a little more white on both sides of the horse. I'm now using our 538.5 Rembrandt Mars Violet to add a brown color to the chest and body and legs of the horse, just like we did on the face. These different layers of color give us a more complex look and just add a lot to our painting. That's what's going to make your painting stand out above everyone else's. I'm using the end and I'm cross hatching back and forth to put in that color. I'm going to finish the mane now, and I'm using my 353 Cordovan to darken some of the areas with the dark brown, just like we did on the horse's body. So I'm not coloring all over the mane. I am leaving the light struck areas in light blue and using the brown to put in the shadows. Got my 211 NuPastel white to add the highlight on the back side of the horse where it's struck by the sun. Got a light green pastel, NuPastel. It's kind of the same color as the green we used in Rembrandt on the front to add just a little bit of color there. Now I have my 229 black, and I'm filling in the darks in the mane of the horse. I'm using the back sharp edge of the NuPastel to add a few hairs. You can see how black, NuPastel black is about the blackest black you can get. So I'm using quite a bit of it because these horses are black. So we want to use that to really darken it. Using my black charcoal pencil to pull out some wispy hairs and even up the edge of this ear. I'm loving this, making the graceful hair. Now if you have access to one of these, this is a Create a Color black pastel lead stick. The number on it is 26012. Now I have it in a holder. It's a really old holder. I think they have black plastic ones available now. You can get this from Dick Blick. It's very, very black. Don't confuse it with their graphite leads. This is 26012, and they're very nice dark black pastels. I've gone back to my NuPastel now, but if you don't have a NuPastel black, the Create a Color stick is a good substitute. It's blacker than a pastel pencil. So I'm just going to continue to work on the mane. After adding the black, I want to add a few lights. So I'm using the sharp edge of a 249 NuPastel light warm gray. This is very nice to add a few highlights on the mane. It's amazing how a few touches and changes in values can really bring life to what you're doing. Using the Create a Color, I could use the graphite pencil or the NuPastel to add hair onto the right side of our horse's head. This is looking really super good. Now here I've switched to my white charcoal pencil to add some sharper notes to the mane. Just a few. I'm not going to do a lot of them, or it'll begin to look like the horse has gray hair instead of having highlights. I have my 700.5 black Rembrandt in my hand. I'm using the short round edge of it to add some black. I thought it needed to be a little blacker on the face, and now I'm going to use it under the chin and for these areas of black on the body of the horse. I'm cross-hatching over these areas that are black. I am going to leave some open areas on the chest and on the upper back of the horse where we're going to add different colors. Here I'm using the edge of my 211 white, which to add a highlight on the side of the horse. This is where the sun strikes the horse on the left side. So I'm just using it to add that highlight that's on that edge. Now this is my gray, 299 light gray, that I'm using to add some highlights on the neck of the horse. This is not as bright as the 249. We don't want, we want to show a highlight, but we don't want to make it too bright at this point. And so I'm using it to add short little strokes. I'm using my 305 spruce blue to deepen and enrich the color in this area. It makes a subtle but important change in the value. I'm making this a little bit brighter with the 100.5 Rembrandt white. Using the spruce blue to add a little more depth of color also in these other areas. Adding a few accents now with the 405 Blue Haze NuPastel, just using the edge of the stick. I really love this color. Just adds so much vibrancy. I get really excited when I find a cool color like that, and I can use it in a lot of different ways. The 299 gray again to separate the neck from the mane. Short little strokes, adding a few highlights in this area. And this is the 213 Sanguine, adding a few color notes there. We'll be using more of that. It'll tie into other colors we're going to use in the body. And then the 235 Light Blue. I like using it for highlights too. I always use a color if I can. And then the 405 Blue Haze. So we're shaping up the muscles in the horse. I'm kind of sketching where these areas are going to be. And then we'll be better able to add in colors that we need. So I'm using short strokes. And this is spruce blue, darken that area. Back to the light gray. Taking my time here, short little strokes. I'm rubbing it in a little bit with my finger. We have the black, Rembrandt 700.5. Just defining the larger areas of black. We'll go back in and add details. So I'm adding the black now on the belly of the horse, the underside. But I'm not going to cover everything, at least not now. So I'm just shaping out the horse. I'm using the black here to shape around the horse too. This creates volume. The horse is round, he's not flat. But I'm going to leave that central area open for the time being. I'm going to use my gray to add some more highlights on the side of the horse. I'm evening up the back edge of the horse. I'm using the blue haze for this other little area of the horse's back. It's struck by light. Using the 211 white to add a few more highlights to the side. And I'm also going to even up some areas on the back by using background colors to cover up things that are uneven. I hope you've enjoyed part 2. Please join me for part 3, where we continue on with this beautiful horse. Even up that back side a little bit. Put a little sky color there. See you on part 3.